Hey everyone, either welcome back or welcome to my channel. And in today's video, I want to cover what some of my biggest adjustments were after my IIH diagnosis. So before I get too far into the video, time for the intro. Hey everyone, my name is Ashley Stewart. So 2018 was actually a pretty hard year for me, but it was also a pretty good year too. So I completed my bachelor's degree in biochemistry. But at the same time, I was also diagnosed with a rare condition called idiopathic intracranial hypertension, or IIH. Some of you may also know this by its older name called pseudotumor cerebri. So, if you're curious to learn more about what it's like to live with this rare condition, then I encourage you to watch on. Don't forget to subscribe, and I upload new content every Monday and Thursday afternoon. With IIH, when you're actually diagnosed, there's a lot of adjustments that you have to make initially. For me, it was adjusting to the medication. It was adjusting to the overall idea that there's a medical explanation for what's been going on for the past few months for me. I really thought that all of this had been basically made up in my head. And this is because I had so much blood test done, it was ridiculous. I was basically determined to be just a stressed out university student, which I was. One, I was in danger of failing my courses because of the fact that I was not feeling well. Two, I was stressed out because I wasn't feeling good. A majority of it was the fact that I felt like I was falling behind and not able to do the amount of required work needed to complete my degree. I'm happy that it kind of wasn't diagnosed at the time that I was going through school, because I don't know how well I would have been able to study with the acetazolamide. There are some memory issues with the condition and all that too. I don't know if that's more from the medication that they have us on, or if it's actually because the condition can affect our memory. If that's the case, where the condition is affecting a little bit of the memory, I did do a video on short-term memory issues quite a long time ago now, so if you guys want to check that out, go ahead. There was a little bit of issues with that. Thankfully, I love science so much that it wasn't really ever an issue with it that I remember. As far as I'm concerned, from what I've noticed, my memory issues really did become more of an issue, kind of more when I went on the acetazolamide, but it's hard to know for sure when they exactly started. Everything just seems like a continuation of another. So the biggest adjustments for me were definitely the acetazolamide. Another big adjustment was the fatigue. I have continued to have some fatigue throughout this whole thing. It has gotten better since I adjusted to the medication, and a lot of it was probably due to the fact of getting used to the medication, but who knows. You know, with these up and down conditions, the fatigue is kind of something that you deal with consistently anyways. I've just kind of gotten used to the fatigue over time I just adjusted my lifestyle to work best with me. I tend to go to bed a lot earlier than I used to, and I feel it takes me a couple hours to wake up, so I do lose a little bit more time because of the condition, but you just gotta learn to deal with what you got and keep going. Another reason why I'm kind of thankful that this happened when it did was because I kind of was able to figure out what worked best for me while I was in university, and had no choice but to continue doing a regular routine. I cannot even stress as to how exhausted I was in university. It was really, really rough. Things got better once finals started, and I could kind of just study, do exams, and take care of myself, but basic everyday things were extremely difficult to complete. They still are, and I don't know if I was getting equally as tired, and the fact that I was fighting double vision at the time and my brain had to fight harder to try and read things. There was a huge emotional swing that I had with the whole diet going through a diagnosis. Now, I still went through this even though I was relieved to hear that the other options that the doctors were giving me was not what was going on, because it was scary things that they were talking about. I was quite mad at the world, actually. To be quite honest, I was not in a very good place at all from about, I think, September through to November. I guess some of the harder things that come with IIH to deal with are some of the adjustments that I've had with the condition. A lot of these have gotten better now that my IIH is very well controlled, to the point where I probably am looking at weaning off medication, as I said in my update video. If you guys want to check out kind of what's going on with how I'm doing with IIH, I suggest you check that out. I also talk about my injury in that video. Some of the things come with the fact that you don't have the ability to do things exactly how you were before. Before I had IIH, I was so active. It was very, very difficult to slow me down. In fact, I had to do a workout in order to burn enough energy to go to sleep at night. And now it kind of, I don't really, well, at this point, I probably, if I wasn't dealing with an injury, I don't know if I would be in the same situation at this point or not. It would depend on how my head is doing, and my head has been pretty good. So if my head is feeling okay, I have that a little bit less than what I used to. I get a little bit tired a little bit faster, and it depends on what I try and do throughout the day. If I'm doing a bunch of very heavy activities, it wears me out quite fast. And actually, it's kind of strange. My workouts tend to wear me out less than everyday chores around the house do, kind of thing. It's very strange. That's one of the adjustments that I had to deal with. And actually, right from the start, my apartment actually suffered so bad when I first got sick, because I was like, oh, well, I'll just deal with this when I figure out what's going on, basically. And then it was kind of, well, this doesn't really seem to be going away. So it was an issue for that too. So it's really, really hard to describe. The fatigue is honestly probably one of the hardest adjustments, and having to adjust your routine, especially if you're like me. I mean, I did a biochemistry degree, and so I don't want to say that other degrees aren't as heavy with your workload, but when you do a biochemistry degree, you're dealing with lectures, assignments, and labs. Labs aren't really something that you have a lot to do with in an arts degree past a certain point. Like once you've gotten a science requirement or whatever, they usually don't have you do much labs, but you do a lot more writing assignments. So I'm not exactly sure as to how much time that would take compared to doing a lab, but when we have labs, we also have writing to do with those labs, and the labs are usually 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours, depending on what lab you're doing. It's heavy. It's like an extra class, because classes are 3 hours a week, so of lecture time. That's not including homework. It was a big adjustment going from the fact that sometimes even that wouldn't wear me out. Just doing school wouldn't wear me out when I was in, like, even first semester of my 4th year before I got sick right away. It wasn't wearing me out to the point where I really had no issues with the demand of the schedule. In fact, I loved it because it was constantly busy and time went really, really fast. And then I started to struggle with just handling doing 5 classes and no labs, and I'm like, what is wrong? The fact that my ability to handle things had kind of changed, even though I was still getting the same amount of breaks as what I had been in previous years. was a sign that something was really, really wrong. If you guys have anything that you would like to add to the comments, feel free to leave a comment down below. As for now, that's it for today. Bye, everyone!